What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Surviving Bedrock. Now, as you can probably tell, we are in creative mode in a copy of my world. Now, because this is episode 40, and I think it's actually the highest episode I've got up to in any of my series on my YouTube channel so far. So, as a celebration for episode 40, and as a celebration for the fact that we've reached over 250 subscribers now, which in the grand scape of YouTubers is not a major deal, but considering that I was sitting on 30 subscribers for a good 6 to 12 months before the beginning of this year, and yeah, it's shot up quite dramatically considering at how low of a subscriber count I was at. So I thought that for all the new people who have joined the channel and who have started watching my videos, I'd give a recap of everything that we've done in our world up to this point so far. And we can take a look back at all of our old projects that we've done and gone through and how we've made changes to everything and how the world sort of progressed. So I think that we should start off where our world actually begun, and that is just over here. Now, initially, this tree was not here whatsoever. Our initial entrance to the man cave was just a simple waterfall coming down behind some cobblestone steps. And if we can actually open this thing. Now, the reason I'm doing this in creative is because that way I can sort of break into stuff, show it how it all works, and I don't have to worry about fixing it all up later. Now, I think the first farm that we actually built in this world was this chicken cooker. There has been no changes made to this whatsoever, and it's still working, it's still producing cooked chicken like a trooper. And yeah, it's one of them time and tested builds that have just never stopped working. It's always been the same. I think it's been the same in Minecraft for around about 3 or 4 years now. This is your bog standard chicken cooker where it fires the eggs into a half-stone slab. They will then hatch, and then when the baby chicken grows up, its head will go into the lava, it cooks, and then gets picked up by the hopper. Very, very quick and simple build, but it was one of our first farms we actually put into our man cave. Now, the idea behind this man cave initially was that we was going to follow the contours of an actual natural cave that was here. So I've sort of decorated it all out in very vanilla style build. So we've got the sort of bog standard oak wood, and the reason how comes we were so limited with our block palette right at the beginning is because I was initially only going to stay on this first map that was provided to me at the beginning. Like when you first start off, you start off with a map and that's it, that's the map that we started off on. So I did not want to venture out of it because I knew that the aquatic update was going to be hitting the consoles and Bedrock edition around about 3 or 4 months after I started this world. So I didn't want to go exploring and uncovering oceans before the new generation came into effect. I'm not sure if this map's been updated since... that's just bad news bears really, isn't it? I forgot that I'm in creative mode, so I can't just break off the map. But, well, yeah, that's just happened. Can we just quickly grab another map? And sorry about that quick cut there. It's probably going to be the first of many, but I thought that we'd just get a copy of this map just so that we can see if anything has changed. I know that farm, our kelp farm over there, should have changed by now. I'm not sure if it would appear on the map as being changed, and I think the new building is over there. It's raining now as well, but with the magical creative mode we can actually stop that and make that decent weather. Let's go clear that up quickly. Then let's head on over to here. Yeah, see that house over there is now rendering in. Our pathway is extended down a bit. And there's a lot actually over that way that we need to go check out. But before we go do that, we've got quite a lot in this area to cover. Now, the way that this door works is pretty simple. The pistons behind it is a little bit difficult, but if we can find a point to bust in here without messing up the redstone. Stone bricks are just an indicator as to blocks I'm not meant to break. Yeah, so basically you've got a hopper minecart here, which is then leading to a bunch of hoppers down here. Now this hopper is or should be connected to a comparator, which is just over here. and then that will send a signal to this pulse extender. It's just a standard comparator pulse extender, which then does this trickery to the numerous different pistons that I actually had to put in place here. Now this door was a little bit difficult to make purely because of the arrangement of pistons that there were. So if we go throw a block just in there. Now the awkwardness about it is that because it's like 3 thick in one section, 2 thick in another, and then we had to have the pistons come down and push the wood out so it's a completely flush door. But there's a whole episode on that if you want to go and check out me actually building it, and I'll sort of run through the complications and the way that I ended up doing it. So let's move on from that. This is our simple enderpearl station. This is just a little add-on feature that I done in a later episode. This replaced our array of furnaces, and our original storage area was actually here. And this is simple. You just press the button and it kicks out 16 enderpearls. This design itself was originally done by Mumbo Jumbo, and it is so very simple. It's just a couple of redstone torches. Redstone torches, that's correct. And then that leads round to a line of redstone dust going around the back, a redstone repeater here, and then it just wraps around to there. And then what happens when you press the button, it will then send a pulse in between the 2 redstone torches, which will then flicker 8 times on each dispenser, dispensing 8 enderpearls each, which is extremely handy. It's a very simple design, but extremely handy to have and good to know. Our heads are there from... Excuse me, I should really put my phone on silent. There we go. Now the heads we've got through numerous different episodes actually, but the majority of the time, each time I tried to get a head, I ended up dying about 2 or 3 times, and they were only possible due to the new channeling enchantment on the tridents. So yeah, that's all good. What else can we go check out? Before we go check out the nether, and because you travel instantly in creative mode, I'm just going to break that for a sec. And then we're going to go over to our super smelter. Now this is, I believe it's 32. It's 86, yeah, it's 32 furnaces, so it smelts half a stack each time. Now it runs completely off of dried kelp blocks. Now the way that this works is that we've got a kelp farm directly above here. Now to save us time, I can actually just sort of bust through here and show you the ins and outs of this. And can we get a night vision potion on us, please? Just so we can see what's going on. Water, potion, water, and night vision. Thank you. Let's have one of these. There we go. So, as you just heard there, we've got kelp plants which are then growing up into the front of observer blocks. As soon as one of them observer blocks reads the kelp plant reaching it, it then sends a signal to a sticky piston with a redstone block on, which then ticks down and sets off all of the bottom pistons, breaking all of the kelp plants. You got water flowing at the top of each of the plant sections, flowing into where these glass panes are. And as you can see there, all the kelp gets pushed to the glass panes, drop straight down into these water streams. They then float down, obviously going into that hole at the moment, but they flow down to these hoppers here. So each time that I actually want to do a sort of dried kelp run, is I've got a lever here, and what I can do is that if I pull that, that is then pushing all of the hoppers back over to reconnect it to the system, allowing all the kelp to then fill all of these hoppers. They then feed down into a hopper minecart or a chest minecart. So I usually leave this sort of backlog and fill completely up, so then you have about 2 to 3 double chests worth of kelp before I do a dried kelp run. And then after I have finished smelting up all of the kelp just purely as a recyclable furnace fuel, I'll then break all of these chests, craft up all of the blocks using these crafting tables here, run back over to here, and then I throw them into the fuel, send them off, refill all the furnaces. So it is a completely self-sustainable furnace array, and we've got the kelp farm directly above, which is extremely handy. I don't know why I'm still patching stuff up. It's like a force of habit. If I see something that doesn't look right, I tend to have to fix it there and then, otherwise it drives me insane. But that's our super smelter and array, and that's our kelp farm. The kelp farm has been redesigned 3 times due to the changing of water mechanics. Now, I'm really hoping they don't change it again, because I'm getting quite sick and tired of having to repair that thing. Now, the sugarcane farm, this is 100% lossless sugarcane farm. The water is sitting just beneath the stone brick blocks. Yep, that's correct. Beneath them blocks there, and we've got a hopper minecart running underneath the dirt. As soon as the sugarcane reaches the observer blocks, it will then send a pulse running all the way along the pistons. That will then break all of the sugarcane along one side. The sugarcane will then drop onto the dirt, being picked up by the hopper minecart, which is running in circles just around the edge there. And then that all gets fed into this double chest just here. And that has been our only source of sugarcane for, oh, since the beginning of the series actually, and it's working out pretty well. So what else have we got over here that we should go through before we move on to a different area? We've got a very bog standard melon farm. You just push a button, it then pushes a load of sticky pistons down, and then from there it breaks them all. You've got a hopper minecart that then gets sent off to go collect them all. They then all get fed into this double chest here. Obviously, I've not emptied this for a while, so that's just built up. And because I very rarely need to use melons for anything, the only thing I think I've used them for is for potions of regen. I think it is. Is it regen or instant health? I think it may be instant health. But yeah, that's the only thing that I've actually used it for. This simple automatic smelter is just for stuff that I needed smelted here and there as I was passing. So I needed some gold for powered rails. I needed some glass for bits and bobs that I was doing, and then I had a load of raw meat on me. So I just, usually if I'm passing here and I've got something on me that can be smelted, I'll just throw it in there and just let it go. And I usually only use the super smelter for doing very large quantities of smelting. This now is our fully automatic multi-item sorter. Now there's a number of tutorials for this design. I initially done this about 3 months before the first tutorial for this concept came out, and it's a hopper rotisserie thing. You've probably seen a number of the tutorials using this system for doing super smelters, where it rotates the hoppers around the furnaces to equally disperse the items for smelting. But this one I initially used for our sorting system, as opposed to using Tango Tech's multi-item sorting system. It uses the same concept that we use in the chests themselves to actually sort the items. So every single spot in every single chest has to be filled, and then when the hoppers are going round, it will then pick up its items. So if we say have some kelp in here, we can throw that in there. And I think that's on. We switch it on. Now this is a simple drop of 8. It will send the items from my input chest up to these hoppers. It will then get fed round to this double chest just over here. Now the hoppers will then run underneath that. Now as you saw, when I push the button, you get a single pulse doing a complete loop around, and then it will constantly go around, and what happens is that a piston will then push a hopper up, piston will then push a hopper to the left, the piston over here will push a hopper down, and then the piston over here will push it right, and it will just literally go round on an anti-clockwise loop. And then because each hopper will then have that's the chest. Hoppers will then have items in. When it reaches a chest that's got an item of the same type in, it'll attempt to put it into each chest until it reaches that chest, and then it's able to put it in. That makes it multi-item sorter. This is actually on the back of another item sorter that we've got for our wool farm. Now the wool farm we done, I think it was around about 15 episodes ago. Now at the moment it is a standard just sheep in a pen, and that is because my initial design for it, after I designed it and built it, they changed the mechanics. The aquatic update came out, and what it did initially work as is that, wow, there's a lot of sheep down here, which I did not know about. Which means I'm actually going to have to go find them in my actual world, in my survival copy, and make sure that's not what's causing all the lag here. But what was happening is that the sheep would first of all get sheared, and then they will then go down underneath the glass blocks, which are just here. So they would, that grass block wouldn't be there. The sheep would then drop down here because the piston would be just here. So, sheep, can you please get out of the way? I've had to tear most of this down just to sort of, because I was trying to fix it and then I tore half of it down. Can we find one that's sort of intact? It is a simple conversion of Etho's original pop-up sheep farm. If you haven't seen it, then I would strongly advise checking it out. I did go over the ins and outs of how this should work, but since the aquatic update, when you use a sticky piston with a block to push an entity, that entity will then get trapped in that block, and it would then just end up suffocating and dying. I've been waiting for them to do a bug fix for that for ages. I've reported it numerous times. It's been marked down as a bug at the moment, but hopefully one day soon it will be fixed and I can actually get round to utilising this farm how it was intended. Now, I'm not too sure how much of that rambling I'm going to include in that, because we are now hitting around about the, on my clock is about the 15-minute mark. I don't want this video going on forever. So as we can move on, we've covered most of that area there. This is just overflow storage. When the aquatic update came out, we made our turtle sanctuary. So these turtles are mainly for breeding. We breed these up, we then get the eggs. We can then put the eggs over here. They'll then hatch, and then when the baby turtles turn into adults, they drop their scoots, which are their shells. That will then get collected by the hopper minecart underneath and then put into this chest here. So this was our scoot sort of shell farm for making our turtle helmets or potions of the turtle master. This was initially my map room before I made it into a turtle sanctuary, and this is an enlarged version of our map. Has this got everything how it is at the moment? I think it does actually. Yeah, I think this is all up to date barring that area up there. Let me see, can we make some room here? If we grab this map here, I think it is the same. Yeah, just throw that over there. So that's our turtle sanctuary. Then we've got an open area here for the turtles to then swim down. Now I had to clear all of this out, fill it all in with water, and then I sort of decorated it with all the new aquatic update stuff like the corals and the coral fans and the coral fins or whatever they are. What are these called? The horn coral? Well, that's just coral, and then they are coral fans. And then we've got some sea pickles dotted about for extra lighting. We've got sea lanterns dotted about, hidden here and there. I've used the prismarine for our tunnel, which I can show you is leading down to an expansion area. But in our latest episode, if you've not seen it, I actually went through and done a poll as to what we wanted to do with the bottom area here, because this is where we're looking to expand our man cave to. I then had a vote whether or not we should flood this and have this entire area of our man cave underwater. So that actually came through. I think it was nearly 100% vote for it to be flooded. I think there was 1 out of the 20 or 30 people that voted that actually wanted it to not be flooded. So yeah, it is going to be flooded. So I'm sorry to that one person that voted for it not to be. And I've also decided that we're going to be getting rid of all of this prismarine. We're going to be putting just like a view window in here, or maybe another mini farm, or we can just probably just block this area all off together. And what we are then going to have, because that bottom area is all going to be flooded, I'm just going to have this area as my entrance in and out of that way, because we're going to be getting rid of all of this prismarine and all of this glass. And we're going to decorate this a little bit more, and that way we just swim down to the new section of the man cave, because it's all going to be flooded. We're going to have the words, trying to speak very quickly here. It's all going to be flooded, and we're going to have fish and stuff swimming around all over the place, and we're going to decorate it with coral and coral reef all underneath in the bottom areas of the man cave. So yeah, all of this should be converted within the next few episodes, hopefully, if it all goes well. Is there anything else over in this area to cover? Oh, we've got a very quick and simple cow farm over here. this, I've actually made a couple of changes to this. Instead of using the fences, they changed the hitbox of fences in one of the latest updates, preventing you from feeding cows with the fences over them. So then I use glass panes hitbox then changed. So then I just raise it up by 1 and use stone bricks. And here all that you do is that you just walk along, you breed them all up, and then the baby cows fall into a water stream. If I just show you down here, they then just fall down there, over there to where these hoppers are. Yep, hoppers are. Can we get back up, please? Thank you. And then when they grow up and I'm ready to harvest them, I hit the Happy Fun Time sauce button. It will then cook the cows just long enough to then drop their drops, which will then be leather and cooked beef. And yeah, that was a very simple. This was actually very, very early on in our series. And I've just sort of came around here and I've modified it and I've changed it bit by bit as updates have broken stuff. So yeah, all happy days there. I do remember I had to change all of the water streams in that after the aquatic update because the cows were just getting stuck on the end, bobbling up and down. So I remember having to change that. This is a little, sort of just a little pond area that we walk over that I added after the aquatic update also. And I think it looks fairly nice. Now, before we had the turtle sanctuary here, we used to have a very budget Neverwart farm, which was linked up to just sort of water dispenser system, which is how comes we've got a chest here holding a load of potions and potion ingredients. Yeah, so that's that. Is there anything else over here that I need to go over? I think that's everything down below in the man cave area. And we've got a slime farm which works to a moderate extent, but since the changes in mob spawning and the addition of the drowned, it's broken pretty much every version of slime farm there is without having to clear out huge areas. But this is done very simple. It's a single slime chunk. I've expanded the walls a bit, so you've got 16 by 16 platforms. Built multiple platforms all lit up nice and bright so only slimes can spawn. And then down here they die on the Funtime magnet blocks. And then they drop our lovely slime balls just over here. Of course you've got a minecart running underneath. And then this is my little AFK spot over here. So that is that all shown and done. That was very, very early on actually, if I remember correctly. I've got resources and stuff. From builds like this, I usually end up leaving loads and loads of resources. I didn't really have silk touch picks when I first done this one, so we've got a lot of just standard cobblestone. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to use that for, but I'm sure that I will get around to using it or moving it or just getting rid of it at some point or another. Now, if we go back outside and I can show you our village. Now, the cathedral was built in stages over around about 3 or 4 episodes. That over there is the kelp farm where I've already showed you. Now, the cathedral, I'm actually dead proud of this build. It took me a very long time to build from starting from scratch sort of thing. I think I built the framework first of all, and then I built the 2 towers in another episode, and then I finished off the exterior in another episode, and then I done the interior in another episode. Now, the cathedral itself is designed to house our villager sorter, and if we can go into there and I can show you how that all works, if these doors are still working. I'm not sure if this copy is before or after they broke. Oh no, yeah, see, this is before I've done the fix for this. In my actual survival world, I've done a fix for this already. Because for some reason, when you move trapdoors into redstone blocks now, it doesn't take effect of the redstone block. Usually the doors would open like this, and then when they would get moved into the redstone blocks, they would then close. So then it would be like that, a too wide gap for you to run through. But enough about that. That's something that I fixed in a later episode, and I'll go over it in another episode. Get lost. This is our villager sorter. So we've got a bunch of villagers here. The signs are above their head explaining their prices and what they trade. This is where I come for all of my enchanted books. The way this works is that we've got a breeder over next to our original mob farm, which I'll show you over there in a minute. That then leads through a massive water stream which brings all the villagers up into this friendly little, well, yeah, very friendly villager box here. And then we've got a dispenser with minecarts just here. So when we go over to our sorter, we come up to the selection area, we push the button to request a villager to come over. And then if it's a villager that we don't want to keep, we hit the right button. That will then get shot off over into a cactus, which will then break the minecart, and eventually the villager will run down into the Funtime lava source just down there. Yeah. So they end up, I've got plans to actually change where they get sent to, the ones that I don't want to keep, because I'm thinking of making a villager to witch converter, but that's a project for another day. And then when we do want to keep a villager, let's go request another one. We could then send them to the left, and what happens is they then go round on a minecart track, they look for an empty slot, they drop in there, and the way that that works is they come round, and then when they drop down, they hit a pressure plate, which then inverts the redstone torch signal. So you've got redstone torch underneath this block just here. It then sends it up to here. It then goes all the way up to this redstone dust. And then when this redstone dust is powered, the tracks will be facing the other way, allowing the minecart to go in. But then when one lands in, it reverts it, so then the minecart carries on down the track. And it pretty much works the way, but just in reverse polarities for the opposite side, because minecart tracks are position orientated, as in they will always attempt to go towards the positive ends. So the positive X and the positive Z coordinates is the way that they'll automatically try to face. But that is our villager sorter. I'm quite happy with the way that this came out. This building, this cathedral build, took a better part of about 16 to 20 hours in total. Yeah, but I'm quite happy with the way that it came out. Don't worry about this door. I've actually gone over how I fixed this in the next episode. This is a little bit of a episode inception because I've recorded the next episode before I'm recording this one, but this copy of a world was made before I recorded the next episode, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I've recorded the next episode already, and I'm recording this one made from a copy before I done the next episode. Yeah, so this is our cactus farm. This is one of our most recent builds. This is the same time that we've done a fix for our kelp farm, and it's a very, very simple cactus farm. It is working off the concept that cactus grows, it will then get broken off by a dispense post being here. It drops down into the water streams all the way down to here. It then leads into a soul sand elevator, which goes all the way back up to our little house. Up to here. It will then get pushed up to here into the hoppers, fed down into our chest for when we need cactus. So that's a very bog standard simple cactus, and it made a it utilized this building here. Now what I usually do with these buildings, I'm building them off camera entirely. Most of the cosmetic stuff around here I tend to do off camera. And that is purely because I like to get a healthy variation of the sort of function and form. As in, I lean primarily towards the mechanics and redstone workings than I do towards sort of the cosmetic side of things. And I'm happy with the way that the series is playing out. I tend to not release videos that I'm not happy watching myself. And yeah, so that's the cactus farm, and this building obviously I built off camera as well, but then I done the redstone of this building on camera. We have got a horse switching stable just here, so when you flip a lever, the donkeys then get switched out for horses, and that is a very sort of, it took me quite a while to figure out how to build this. It uses a slime block launcher surrounded by leaves, so obviously encase the animals that are below. And then when you push them, it launches them up at the same time. These pistons open to allow the one to drop down. And the timings of it was very finicky, but I like the way they came out. It came out looking pretty decent, I reckon. And yeah, so we've got donkeys and horses on call for when we need it. This building is being utilised as a vine farm, so we've got vines in the dispenser here. We dispense it and then they all just get fed down to this hopper using the water streams. Sorry about that, my throat's getting a little bit croaky now. I've been talking non-stop for around about 29 minutes. I'm fairly sure that I may actually have to split this episode into two, depending on not if you want to watch a world tour. I will clearly state that the episode is a world tour and it is for newcomers to get caught up with the series and to see where we are so far. Now, the trees that I've got dotted about here obviously aren't natural. They're all sort of man-made trees of me giving attempt at sort of natural landscaping type things. I tried it initially with this one and then I started dotting them about, and then I had the idea of making one of the big trees into our entrance to the man cave, and I think that all came out looking pretty decent. Why did I grab grass? I wanted grass blocks. There we go. For this area I think we are pretty much done. Now if we fly over to here, this is our snow biome area. Now this area is mainly cosmetic. We are sort of working on doing a biome enhancement and a custom biome sort of complete scheme. So we're using completely different materials rather than natural materials to create our own custom biome. So we've got a massive crystal tree which is made of packed ice and glass, and I think that it was it last episode or the episode before, which is the one I actually done the time lapses of me building this one, and it took ridiculously long, not just the gathering and smelting but the building of it. It was very meticulous, and to get up and around the sort of height restrictions around this was extremely challenging. Down here, these two farms are very useful and they're both going to be torn down and relocated. Our ice farm works on the principle that we've got a hopper minecart that we just sort of send off on its way. We could then run along with a silk touch pick and break all the ice. It's the most satisfying sound that when you break ice. And then the hopper minecart will come and pick up all the ice. You've got normal solid source box of water on the edge just around. And then when you break all the ice, it will then refill back in and it freezes up. This is our automatic snow machine. Now we've got some snow golems just stuck in between two sets of sticky pistons running off a standard EFO hopper clock. So when you hit it, that will then shift side to side. The snow that the snow golems produce get turned into snowballs, drop into the hoppers, get fed through. That is very, very loud, by the way. It's one of the most annoying sounding farms I've ever built. That then gets fed through to this little water elevator which leads to these hoppers and this set of chests. And then with these chests I break all together, get all the snowballs, craft them into snow blocks, and then I use the snow blocks for sort of doing the custom borders and edges and filling in areas that doesn't look right. So as you can see, this is not a custom texture pack. I've actually gone round all of the edges with snow blocks and filled them all in. But I think that's about all the progress that I've made in this area. Both these farms are going to be moved and relocated and probably redesigned in a later episode once we move back to that area. Now, if we get back down into our man cave, which way is going to be the quickest way to get in there? I think going the proper way is probably going to be the quickest way, otherwise I'm going to break into something that I don't mean to break into. And we just find the thing. There we go. So our villager breeder is actually at our first initial mob spawner. So if we go over to here, you know what, right now, because this episode is going to be dragging on very long, I'm going to make a cut here, and then I'm going to start again, and I'm going to release this as two-part sort of world tour, because otherwise it's going to be about an hour to an hour and a half long. And can you hear that? That's my daytime alarm. If you're wondering about that daytime alarm, that is the full Big Ben sound from London, and get access to it. This is the daylight sensor. You've got a glass block which goes all the way up there. It then feeds round to this bunch of note blocks which plays directly underneath our storage and sorting system. And then that is maintenance for our sugarcane farm. Yeah. That's just a little maintenance hatch. Yeah, before I make a cut, And if you want to carry on watching the world tour, then please continue and click on the next video. So yeah, I'll catch you back in a sec.